You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
The Warriors in round 19 NRL action tonight, 7:30. They take on the Eels at CommBank Stadium, looking to put last weekend's disappointment in the wet against South Sydney behind them.
Ilias, clever kick, a try to Munro. A try on debut for the 18-year-old. Oh, as Munro's in space. That kick is pretty decent. Jackson Ford's been taken out, and Taff goes over to force the ball.
Poor grab on Jackson Ford. Wasn't the case. In the end, they ruled enough downward pressure on the ball.
But credit to South. They've been far too good for the Warriors in this game tonight, winning by 28 points to 6.
Let's bring in Warriors assistant coach Richard Agar. Richard, they say you win or you learn. So what did you learn about yourselves as a team last weekend?
Well, first of all, there's emotions. You know, it was tough and disappointing in front of such a great crowd, and given the form we've been. But at the same time, yeah, I think you got it right. I think there's plenty of learns for us in there. I thought our effort, certainly in big parts of the game, were very, very good. Where we probably got some bits wrong. I think Andrew Webster alluded to after the game a little bit. You know, we tried to maybe at times play a style a little bit to go around them rather than through them, and ultimately quite a number of mistakes put us under the pump for possession. And we'll tip us up to the Rabbits tonight. I thought they played a great game in the conditions too, and the ball movement and control in those conditions. On the back of the way they kicked the ball were excellent. But yeah, we thought the first 30 minutes, you know, we had some good field position and possession, and perhaps, you know, we were the ones that sort of orchestrated letting the momentum in the game slip.
So when you are looking ahead to the next game, because, I mean, professional rugby league is, you know, the games come thick and fast. How long into the week do you leave it to, you know, to start previewing the next game? You get your review done reasonably quickly, do you?
Yeah, pretty much straight away. You know, coaches will work on it the day after, and then as soon as the boys are in the following day, yeah, we'll get down to it in our units. We break as much of it down as we can, so we've not got big, long group meetings sat in front of a video. We try and get the guys in groups of different edges and different middles, and then the spine will do some work. And actually, some of our review almost rolls into our preview next week too, about, you know, the improvements that we'll need and where that will fit into our game, looking at the opposition that we've got this week. So yeah, we're very conscious that we streamline it as much as we can, and you know what we show in video, what can relate to this week and roll into training. We try and all make it fit.
So how has the week been then? I mean, and how should Warriors fans be feeling ahead of your next outing against Parramatta?
Well, I think obviously, like I said, the initial feeling is disappointment, but I think wins and losses come through the year, and it's how you bounce back and what you learn from them. And I think at the moment the group, you know, they're very open-minded. In terms of feedback, when we give our guys feedback, you know, most of our guys had already gone home and watched the game, and by the time they come back, you know, they've almost got the answers themselves and how we're going to fix this up. And you know, the opportunity to get a couple of sessions on the field this week on an 8-day turnaround, that certainly helps us as well. So yeah, I think positive. Really, we're not sort of dwelling on any defeat. We're sort of more looking around. We know we can improve. We feel we can improve, and we're absolutely confident that we can. And we're very, very much looking forward to the game this week. You know, I think the guys are looking forward to getting back out there and, you know, continuing our sort of hopes and search for the playoffs.
Something I've noticed, you know, in the coaching staff and the players and almost all media situations this year, Richard, is that you don't seem to ride the highs too high or the lows too low. You know, after a game, if you didn't know, you might not know whether you'd won or lost by the way that Andrew Webster conducts himself afterwards. Is that a conscious thing inside the camp?
It's probably the nature and the personality of our group and our coaching staff a little bit at the moment, but you know, what tends to happen in the media, and probably more with the impact of social media these days, is such is the how can I say, the immediate reaction, and generally immediate reactions have got plenty of emotion in them as well. But you win a game and everybody thinks you're going to win the comp, and you lose a game and everybody wants everybody, banishing from the team and all that. But it's important that we look at it in a very objective way. Understand that throughout the games, there's still plenty of good stuff that we did, and I think while we feel our guys are giving maximum effort, which that we've got absolutely no doubt, then it's unrealistic to think that games aren't going to come where perhaps you get things wrong or could do things better. So objectively, we like to look at it. Like you say, we do like to celebrate our wins, but we never underplay the fact that games are very, very hard to win in the NRL. So as a group, we'll spend some time together immediately post-match celebrating our wins and making sure that we do that come review time. We like to salute individual performances and what the team's done well based on our preparation in the week. But at the same time, as I say, win or lose, we always try and roll into the next game on improvements and try and understand what's coming and where we need to be good. But that's just, I think that's just very much the nature and the personality of the people we've got in the building. We're not going to get too carried away.
Do you think you're where you wanted to be performance-wise? I know it's a very, very hard question to answer, but if you think back to the start of the season and you look forward 16 games, are you playing the kind of rugby league that you hoped you would?
I think we know what our best game looks like, and I think that is really important, because when you set out, obviously, you're starting on a journey, and then that's always going to evolve as the season goes along. And I think in our minds, both as a coaching staff and the players, we're very aware of how our best game looks and feels, and certainly what we need to do, to produce that. I think what we're finding is, we're a team very much in our evolution, we think. And, last week were a great example of coming up against a team that I think has played something like 4 preliminary finals in maybe the last 5 years, and a team that's very rarely been out of the top sort of 5 or 6 teams for close to a decade now. And I think that's, the Warriors, that's what we're aspiring to do, and to lay the foundations for that. And perhaps we got a little bit of a lesson in that in certain areas of the game last week, that sort of week in, week out, hard-edged sort of style. And I thought, the Rabbits showed a good response to probably a patchy run of form by their standards themselves. Where are we in terms of where we thought we'd be? We've always said right from day one, we're going to shoot for the stars, and we don't mind as long as we try that. If we sort of have some hiccups along the way and some little fails, as long as we learn from them, that's okay. I think if you ask our coaching staff, we'll definitely look at a couple of games this year where, we felt we could have won. We felt we did enough in the games, or it was more we beat ourselves rather than the opposition beat us. And so, we would look at the table, I think, as every club in the competition would, and say we could have had another couple of, another win or two against our name. But such is the nature of the competition this year. It's so tight. It's so tight from literally the top 2 down to, you're going down to teams 11 and 12, and there's barely, a couple of wins or losses either side of the ledger there can significantly affect your league position. Obviously, we're going through the origin period as well, so there's a lot of byes been played, and teams have had more byes than others and split rounds. So I think what's important for us is to see where we are when the 27 rounds are up. And I think if we are fighting for the playoff places, be that top 8 or top 4, I think that's something at the start of the year that would have been viewed as a significant turnaround. But there's a long way to go. As I say, we're shooting for the stars, and we're going to give it our absolute best shot.
That's a great approach. First time you've played the Eels this year. They're in pretty good nick. Yeah. They've won their last 5. How do you reckon you match up against them?
Good question, because when you do your previews in the week as well, quite often the way that your previews fall, you get to view a lot of teams on the road. The way our fixtures have fallen, we've actually not seen too much of Parramatta along the way. So watching them this week, I think as a team that we've not come across too much, I'm watching the last 4 to 5 games thinking, I think these guys they're in a really good rhythm and they've got a really good flow to the game. I think defensively, their coaching staff will be really happy with the way they're defending. They've got a straight line. They all know the jobs. They all know the roles. They're a strong team. Now, look, they've obviously been impacted by some state of origin selections, but I think there's nothing taken for granted on our part there. We came up against a Brisbane side that lost some state of origin players, but what we got is a team that was absolutely full of energy and commitment, and also a little bit of unknown in there in terms of your preparation for them. So look, I think they're a team that are timing their surge in the top 8, just at the right time of the year. I think it'll be a really tough challenge.
And just to finish, Richard, I remember speaking to you right at the start of the year and asked you about, your former head coaching roles with the like of Hull and Wakefield, Warrington, Leeds. And I said to you, do you think you'll find it hard to make the adjustment to assistant coach? And I think you said to me something along the lines of, look, I'm really looking forward to it. How have you found it now that you're doing it?
Yeah, I've loved it. Look, when you're a head coach, very busy. Obviously, you're in the public spotlight a lot. There's a lot more media commitments. You're managing a group of 35 players and dealing with different types, all different types of administration around your high performance department, around your CEO and all that. And I think I remember I said to you at the time, look, I love the rugby league side of it. The other peripheral bits that come with being a head coach, I'm just at a stage in my life where I'm very, very happy to leave that to someone else. So for me, my first year in the NRL, like second year, but first year on an NRL coaching staff, thoroughly enjoyed it. I think we've got a great gang. We've got a really good group of staff that make going into work every day really enjoyable. And one thing I've really enjoyed, two things really, is living in Auckland and just the way that I feel everyone's got behind the club. I think it's just been a great time to be at the Warriors, and we're not looking at just this season. We're wanting to sort of try and build something that we can all be proud of and sustain, and hopefully, I can be part of that for a little bit longer, because it's been a thoroughly enjoyable time. Great to hear. Well, we're loving watching from the sidelines. Richard, thanks for taking the time for a chat. All the best against the Eels. No worries, Jason. Good to chat, mate. Good to chat to you too, Richard. Richard Agar, legend. We've had some cracking humans on the show this afternoon. Richard Agar, assistant coach of the Warriors. 7:30 tonight, they take on the Eels at CommBank Stadium in Sydney.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday, or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.